And I think peace asks one question: will addressing this right now help us grow? And sometimes the answer is no. I think peace requires boundaries and wisdom, and that's the real difference. But Colin, it's kind of saying like, I can't tolerate your discomfort or mine, right? Never telling your spouse they're being disrespectful because you don't want an argument, or making excuses for your teenager every time they fail to take responsibility.
Is peace just the absence of conflict, or is the presence of support?
So I wrote down a lot because I felt like I had a lot to say. So bear with me here. But I just think that peace is more than just like the absence of conflict. It definitely is the presence of support, because I feel like in today's world, like a lot of people feel like a peaceful relationship is the fact that you guys never argue, and that's just not realistic. Um Disagreements are going to happen regardless. So peace is more to me like knowing that even when you disagree and you have to have those hard conversations, you still feel respected and like heard and supported. Um, it's more to me like knowing where you stand with that person, feeling emotionally safe with them, trusting that y'all are both on the same team, working towards the same goal. And it's not peaceful because there are no problems. It's peaceful because there's someone beside you helping you work through those problems when they arise. My opinion.
I want to define these things first. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to define them first, just so we can kind of have a baseline of what we're talking about, right? So coddling, right? That's the act of treating with extreme or excessive care, pampering, or overindulging, right? We'll just keep it at the first definition. And peace would be the state of tranquility, freedom from disturbance, and emotional or psychology stability. So that's what we're looking at with peace itself, right?
Wait, hold on, Trev. Can I just ask what I just need to ask a question in terms of the definition. So are we looking at the definition based on like the denotation definition or connotation in context of relationship? Because
Webster.
For me, those are a little different.
I mean, when you're talking about we're going to the core definition. Of course, we're talking about it as it applies to a relationship, but these are the true meanings of it. Like we're talking about what coddling is, just so we can have a baseline to go off of, right? What coddling would be. So
coddling is not
you would
even
take that
mentioned in the
context.
question, though.
What's that, Darwin?
I don't think coddling was mentioned in his question that he asked. That's not the question that.
Yeah, she actually did mention coddling.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm talking. Okay, I'm talking about the question JR wanted us to all individual.
No, I got it. I'm just saying because that was part of it. That was part of it. She mentioned the word coddling, and we were talking about peace as well. But the way she phrased it is when men are asking for peace, she views it as coddling.
No, I get that. I just thought JR wanted us to answer the question that he put in.
Yeah, go ahead and answer the question. I just was defining that first, so at least we know what we were talking about. Go ahead.
So I guess what Darwin you're saying is the definition of peace should have been the one that is the baseline and not coddling.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were talking about.
Well, we read them both, so you have a comparison. But go ahead.
All right. So is peace just the absence of conflict, or is it the presence of support? I don't think support got anything to do with. I don't think peace got anything to do with support. I most definitely believe it's the absence of conflict, any negative energy in your space, maintaining the peace. I think when a lot of guys talk about peace, is talking about establishing a setting or an atmosphere that they're living in that doesn't have any negative energy. And then the reason why they use the phrase choose peace is that's just like just saying I'd rather stay single and not deal with a woman that's gonna push back or be combative or anything like that. But it's really a cop out to me, because I mean, two human beings, they're going to bump heads every now and then. You just got to be able to, you know, communicate and navigate through that. So I don't think I think people who are saying that, it's something internal going on. It's something else. And they're just using that as an excuse, because everybody knows that when you get in a relationship, you're just going to have problems. And to make a relationship work, you just got to work through it. So you can still have a relationship and establish peace. It's just sometimes you're gonna bump heads. Like, I think what Bo was right. Just based off of experience with the toilet seat issue. I mean, I can speak to that because I left the toilet seat up, or I may have tinkled on the toilet seat before. So, and that's gonna piss your wife up, especially if you expect her to be able to be the one to maintain cleaning the house and stuff. So you gotta, you know, sometimes we be forgetting. Sometimes we be in a rush, and that happens. There's nothing wrong with her coming behind you with an attitude and saying, "Hey, look, I need you to do better. I'm tired of having to come back behind you and clean this shit up." That's just something you got to deal with in a relationship. I don't know why men are running away from that.
All right, I was just gonna say, I think in the context of what we're talking about in relationships, I think a lot of times people interpret peace as absence of conflict. And I think the reason is the conditioning and expectation that men have of women. Like they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to be confronted with like issues. They don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable from like confrontation, right? Confrontation doesn't always have to be negative, right? So I do think, and I'll say vice versa for women as well. But the reason I'm phrasing it in a context of men is just because of the title of the show, right? But I think in the definition, well, in the context of the definition of peace, yes, absence of conflict, but I think the support part is valid. I think in the context of a relationship, peace feels like support, right? Because you feel comfortable enough to have these uncomfortable conversations and not feel like you have to walk on eggshells about it. Or once the conversation is had, you don't have to feel like, is he going to be upset or is she going to be upset? Things like that. You feel seen, you feel heard, and you can not think that there's going to be any retaliation after or anything like that. So I do think in the relationship, peace should feel like support.
I think peace isn't just the absence, is not merely the absence of conflict. I think it's like everybody's kind of saying, it's the presence of respect, mutual respect for one another. I think it's what I write down, emotional safety. I think it's healthy communication. I think that it's trust. I think that it's cooperation. I think that when both people can be themselves, I think that creates what one would want as a peaceful environment. Because I don't think that a relationship isn't peaceful because nobody disagrees. I think it's peaceful because both people know that they can disagree without being attacked, or like you said, mistaken, attacked, disrespected, manipulated, or so. That's what I think. Just my thoughts.
So you guys agree with me in a sense?
I think women, that as girls, we're probably all on the same page with that. So I'm curious to see the men's take on it.
I think peace says, I don't need to win every battle, is what peace says, right? I think a wife choosing not to bring up that her husband forgot to put the dishes away because she knows he's exhausted, or she's people letting a friend cool down before discussing something sensitive, or not correcting any tiny mistake your kids make. I think just picking your battles is peace, because it's not just in a relationship with just your lover, but relationships in general. And I think Peace asks one question: will addressing this right now help us grow? And sometimes the answer is no. I think peace requires boundaries and wisdom, and that's the real difference. But Coddling is kind of saying like, I can't tolerate your discomfort or mine, right? Never telling your spouse they're being disrespectful because you don't want an argument, or making excuses for your teenager every time they fail to take responsibility. With the friend part, letting a friend repeatedly hurt you because confronting them makes them feel awkward, right? Walking on eggshells around someone who explodes whenever they challenge, right? So in my opinion, coddling asks, how do I avoid this uncomfortable feeling? And the goal becomes avoiding upset at all costs. And eventually that relationship becomes built around managing one's emotions. And that's the difference between peace and coddling in my mind.
I think there's two different things. Like I'm actually really surprised that I watched that video of Bo. I felt like it was very negative towards men. And I don't think that, I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about the person that you choose, right? So you choose a person, you're making that commitment. You guys have to have some level of understanding of what our peace is supposed to look like, our level of understanding, the respect that we have for one another. So when there is something small like pee on the toilet seat, yeah, I know it's annoying if you have to keep saying the same thing, but when you choose this person, it's like, okay, well, you know, this is something that I need to work on. This is something that I'm understanding to your view on it. That's peace. It's like we have this understanding. This is what we're working on. We have these goals. We have a mutual respect, a loyalty to each other. This is our safe haven. I think it's all about how you address something and your level of communication and the respect that you have. I think when people get tired, like I guess, you know, what Bo was kind of pretty much showing in the video, is like you get tired of it. So no, I don't want to, you know, have sex with you or coddle you in a sense, or, I mean, whatever that may be. I think everybody wants some kind of affection and attention and love and support. But I think that it's a little bit of everything. I mean, the piece that I would say this, everybody's level of peace is different. Some people don't even have peace within themselves. They don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's the first one. It's peace is just the absence of the absence of like chaos. That's what I think it is. I don't think it's necessarily it has to be support. I think that's beneficial, absolutely, but the bare minimum is just the absence of chaos, and I think that's what people are normally asking for. So, you know, I won't overdo the point, but that's what I think.
Is it?
Yeah, there's nothing much. It's a very simple premise.
Shem, what you on?
I had stepped away from the conversation, so I'm just now getting a heads up on what is going on. So I apologize for being tardy, but it was important. Unfortunately, because of my tardiness, I have missed the lesson. So I have nothing to give at this moment.
Did she get married or some shit?
Shannon, is that your real hair?
Yes.
Oh, it look amazing.
Thank you.
You ain't supposed to ask no woman that. Like,
My bad. It wasn't you. She might lie, but